Okay, doing the screen recording, doing the video recording. Okay, hi! My name is Lana Bashinsky, and I am here for Tea Time Animation's very first online video tutorial. If you've never heard of us, you can find anything you'd ever want to know at www.teatimeanimation.com. So after months of staring at Josh Burton's Morpheus rig, I got really sick of seeing that ridiculous gray unitard over and over and over and over again in every single reel and every single piece of work I have ever looked at since it came out. I'm here to show you how to put some clothes on Morpheus 1.0 or 1.2. Whatever the newest version is. Not 2.0. Cool. For the sake of this tutorial, it would benefit you to have already pre-scaled Morpheus to the size of your scene and pre-morphed him however you want him to look. While it's not necessary, it is best to avoid disaster wherever possible. For example, scaling the character up or down in extreme proportions. I suppose that I should mention before we begin that I am not the most technically savvy person in Maya. You'll probably hear me call a button, you know, this one as opposed to channel box. Cool. Let's begin. So, I'm going to Maya here. I'm working on a Mac, so I won't be able to work as quickly as I usually would in a PC. But you can see that I've already got Morpheus pulled into a new scene. It's totally empty because you're going to want to reference him into your final scene anyways. I've already moved around his face if you're looking for good tutorials on morphing Morpheus so he doesn't look like Morpheus anymore. Josh Burton has some great stuff online on his website. Search Vimeo for it, whatever you want. Josh Burton's the man, and obviously he knows his own stuff. There's also Morpheus 2.0 coming out, so I'm not sure how relevant this is going to be for how long this is going to be relevant, I should suppose. Alright, but let's start out. So I have my Morpheus here. He is not referenced into this scene. This is actually Morpheus. I've renamed the scene to a completely different name, so I'm not going to rewrite over my original Morpheus file. I've turned off all the curves because it's unnecessary for what we're going to do. Everything's cleaned up and we're ready to begin. So the one thing you'll probably notice right off the bat here is you can't click on Morpheus in any way. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is open up our outliner, and we're going to have to find the geo. We want to get all the way down. This looks like we're already selecting the geo and it looks nice, but we want to be at the very bottom of that tree here. It's super important because otherwise we're not going to find the attribute that will allow us to unlock him. So I think it's under Object Display. It is. So under Object Display, if you click the drop down here, there's 3 more options, and we want to go into the drawing overrides, and we want to check this little box here that says Enable Overrides. I'm also going to turn my curves back off here again quickly. There we go. So I have the body geo shape. I've enabled the overrides, and now I should be able to click on his body without having to go through the outliner, which is super important. Awesome. So the first thing that we're going to want to do here, let's start off just making him a shirt. So really simply, we're going to start off by duplicating his body. We get body geo 1, and that's great, but we don't want it in his all anim, like we don't want it to be under his all animation. So let's click on this, little mouse drag it, and pull it outside the body. So now I should be able to grab this here, and let's start off and let's rename this shirt. And let's go ahead and while we're in the channel box, unlock all of these attributes. I just clicked and dragged, right click, unlock selected. I'm still having trouble clicking on him on the shirt layer that I created, or the shirt object that I created through the all animation here. So I'm just going to click all of his all control, and I'll create a new layer and add that object. I'm going to call this all save, and now I'm going to turn it invisible just for a moment for the sake of this tutorial. Eventually I will be duplicating this to create boots and pants as well, so let's go ahead and do this now. So I can just select and Control D, Control D. Now we have shirts 1 through 3. I'm going to name one of these pants. I'm naming this third one boots. And I'm now going to take these 3 layers and I'm going to add them to their own layer. Shirt, save, oops, shirt, layer, save, pants, create new layer, add that layer here. I just do that by clicking that little button that's like a star and a piece of paper and an object. Here's where you can start seeing exactly how not technically savvy I am. Oops, there we go. Save. Great, so now I have my 3 layers here, but we only want to work with the shirt, so let's keep this one to be the only one that's visible. So let's take a moment and make this more distinct from his all-over body. We don't want him to look like this unitard, so let's quickly put a color on here. So I'm just going to right-click, assign a new material, just a quick Lambert, doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter really anything about it. I'm going to call this shirt color, and just quickly change the color here. Let's go with a nice tea time blue here. Beautiful. Boom. So now we have the color. That's just going to help us make this more distinct from his normal body. So obviously this is not a shirt. But in order to get there, we don't have to sculpt new geometry. We've duplicated this, and now we're going to delete some faces so that when we do the wrapping, we have geometry that's going to lay almost exactly over top of his original layer. So let's go ahead and go to our components here, and I want to select some faces. And let's also turn on reflection. I got to my tool settings. You can double click over here on this on whatever tool you're using, or you can turn on your tool settings up in the upper right hand corner there. But I'm going to scroll all the way down to reflection settings and check reflection, and I'll close that for now. And let's get to a front view just so we know we're being symmetrical. So reflection is good when you're doing certain things. It's not actually going to select the faces. It's going to show you where you've selected, which is pretty helpful. But because we're going to be deleting faces, you're actually going to have to go across to the other side and select that side as well. Using the reflection tool is just going to help you make sure you're selecting exactly to the same spot. So I've selected his arms, and I'm going to give him a t-shirt here, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete these faces. Awesome. The mesh of Morpheus is also really good because it sort of gives us a nice bottom of like a men's dress shirt, almost just naturally. So I'm going to go again to this front view quickly, and I'm going to delete him, delete all of these faces from the waist down. It's going to get a little bit tedious because you're going to have to come here. Oh, it selected pretty well actually. But I really want to keep that bottom edge loop as like the one continuous loop. And then I'll go ahead and delete all these faces. Fantastic. I also don't want it to be a turtleneck, so I'm going to go ahead and start deleting some of these faces around his collar there. And there we go. Now we've got like an Under Armour type shirt going on here. But it's obviously not going to be the right size. It still hides inside of his body, but it's a good start. So I'm still going to... Now I'll leave him turned on for now, and then what we would want to do next is I've gone back to object mode here, and let's center his pivot, and just go ahead and scale this evenly on all the axes, and just scale it out a little bit so it's no longer inside of his body. And it's going to not line up perfectly, getting some weirdness under the arms here. It's a little I forget what it's called, when you start seeing his butt come through the shirt there. But it doesn't matter, we're going to fix that right now. So making sure you're in object mode, go to the polygons tab in Maya, and we're going to select this sculpt geometry tool. We can double click on it here. We can see some of the tool settings. If you've never used this tool before, it's pretty obvious. You know, it's got these nice little icons. This will push the geo in, this will pull it out, this will smooth things, it'll relax, this will turn like a square into a circle, or a cube into a sphere pretty well. So it's, you have to be careful with the ones you use, and you change how powerful they are by using the opacity up here and these different radiuses. You'll have to play a bit until you feel like you've gotten it just right. But yeah, so I'm going to start off, and I want to pull the shirt here out from under his arms. So I'm going to select the pull out icon here, and I'm going to make sure that my brush size, I'm changing it by just hovering over the object and hitting B and clicking and dragging. Make sure the brush size is kind of nice, nice and big. We don't want to pull out just like one vertex. It's a little strong. We just sort of want, ooh, also, sorry, I'm going to undo. We want to make sure that reflection is on for this step as well. So let's go back and select this, soft select, and the reflection is down here, and it's under stroke actually. And we're going to just type reflection right there. And so now we're making sure that, you know, he's got an even t-shirt on both sides. And we're just clicking over the area and pulling his shirt out of his armpit. Yay! It's kind of, we have this nice big brush, so it's kind of coming out sort of nice and evenly. Awesome. There we go. So now he's got some poofy shoulders going on there. I don't know how much I like that. So let's try using this relax tool. Again, you're gonna sort of have to play with it to find what you think is a good look. Sort of just like any mod that you'd make, sort of a slow going process, and I hope that you're going to take a little bit more time sculpting your clothes than I'm going to right now. Alright, that's good enough for me for now on the shoulder area. Now we want to start pulling out again around his booty, just so we make sure that unitard isn't coming through. Later, if we're really concerned about it, we can easily just change the face color of the faces on his main body to be the same color as the shirt, just in case it pokes through at all. Then we won't be able to see it. But I'm just using this pulling out tool to sort of shape this shirt and slowly, a little bit faster here, pull it away from his body in nice big strokes. There, alright, so there's a t-shirt. It's pretty good. He's a fit guy. I've made my Morpheus a fit dude, so I want his shirt to fit a little snugly, like it's falling nicely on the back. It's not falling perfectly back here, so I'm going to quickly go to some vertices here. Perfect. And I'm just going to make this look more like it's draping off of him. Let me pull this one out a bit. I've still got reflection on here. Super important in getting that even. Asymmetry is good, but I'm going to go ahead and say you should get it from your posing and not from a defunct model. Great. So let's go back to our object mode, deselect, see how this looks. Alright, there's a pretty standard shirt, the beginnings of a shirt. He's got pretty big shoulders. I might go ahead and move these down again. I'm going to see if I could just take his whole shirt and just scooch it down just a little bit. And there we go. That looks a little bit better. Fantastic. Again, like I said, you can take some more time on this. I'm just going to sort of zip through this for the sake of the tutorial. Now he's got the shirt. It's great. If you want, you can play with the vertices a little bit more here. You can come in and soft select and like maybe give him like a V-neck or something. You'll have to create then like a skin tone for Morpheus, or copy this skin tone into excuse me, into these faces here. Right now, let's just say he's got an untied shirt, so he's got a cute little V-neck there, whatever. I'm also going to pull these back up a little bit. And this is because I'm going to use this edge loop to create just a little bit of a collar. We just want it a little bit thicker around his back here. I'm not sure why my reflection's not working. So I'm just going to eye it. Don't really need to soft select here right now. I don't want his main body selected. Good. There we go. Alright, so it's not perfect. But this will work. So I'm going to go into face mode. I'm going to quickly select this edge loop. And I'm also going to select these edge loops around the arms. And I'm going to just hit extrude here, and I'm going to extrude out on the Z axis. Just ever so slightly. That's a little thick. Like I said, you'll want to finesse this. I usually wouldn't do this in sort of one broad stroke. But then when we have him deselected, it just gives like a nice little bit of an edge there. Just a little, adding a little bit of dimension to this shirt. You can do it on the bottom edge as well if you want. There we go. A pretty standard t-shirt. So let's go on and save. Quickly do a save here on my student version. And let's hide the shirt layer and turn on the pants layer and turn off the all layer. So we have again just his torso. And we want to start off doing the exact same thing that we did with the shirt. So let's go to face mode. Come on, there we go. And let's make sure reflection is turned on, even if it's being a little funky right now. Perfect. And let's go to a front view just to make sure we're always symmetrical. And now what we want to do is we want to delete the top half of his body. I usually ride his pants a little bit high. This is just so it's better to have some there than unless you want to like paint him like a little butt crack. You can do that if you want, but I want to make sure that he's definitely going to be covered if he's bending over. So let's go back to, we also need to delete his feet because we can make separate boots for him later. We can just come to the side view and make sure that that's not selected up too high. But we're going to chop off just this one lower edge of his leg there. Delete. Boom. And there we go. So there's the start of our pants. If you want, you got jeggings and you're done. You could be done now. Or we can keep going and make sure that it actually looks like something worthwhile. So just like before, We want to be able to see this outside of the body. So let's assign a new material, just a Lambert, make it easy. Call it pants color. And let's do a nice tea time khaki. Just turn my shirt on, make sure he's matching here. Great. There we go. Let's go back to our channel box. Let's turn on the shirt. Looks good. Looks like he's working at Best Buy. Let's maybe change it to a brown. We don't want to. There you go. Now he's just wearing like brown cords or something. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, cool. So the first step is, just like before, we're going to center our pivot. And we're quickly just going to scale the pants out. We only need to scale them out just a little bit, just so we can see them over top of his normal legs. Scaling out's a little bit odd because he's going to show a lot on the outside and he's not so much on the inside, but we're going to fix that with the Sculpt Geometry tool anyways, so it's okay. So there we've got our pants scaled up. Now you're going to want to go back between the shirt and the pants, back and forth. Let's turn off our shirt for now, and we can hug these pants pretty close to the top of the body. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down again because it's hard to sculpt around that butt. So it's nice if we can sort of get like the crotch all working together, then the bottom half of the pants is much easier. So let's go ahead and go to vertice mode again. I'm going to select this top ring here. I'm going to hit B to get my soft select. And I'm just going to scale it in and get it nice and tight to his body. It's actually okay even if it goes a little bit through the body. Not a ton, just a little bit. Looks like my reflection's working really nicely. Because my reflection's on, it's throwing off. It's going to scale from. There you go. Alright, so for this part, it's okay if it goes a little bit through the body, if it starts getting that look where sometimes it'll be gray and sometimes it'll be brown. We want him to be wearing tight pants, at least in this area. It just makes the wrapping so much easier. So let's turn back on our shirt and make sure that our pants aren't showing through our shirt at all. They aren't, which is great. Perfect. Now, the one thing that I want you to be particularly aware of here is Morpheus's crotch area. It's really difficult to wrap these pants later if his thighs are touching. So that's like a modification thing. It is possible. It's definitely possible. I've done it. You know, it is more of a hassle. So if you could make your Morphe mod so that his thighs have a little bit of space here, it's going to make your life pretty easy. And you want to keep the pants close, coming on the inside of the thigh. On the outside, it can come straight down. I'm going to make like sort of just general boot cut pants here. And I'm just going to go ring by ring. I'm going to turn off the soft select, or at least shrink it down by a lot. I'll turn it off for these top few. And just scale them right out. I scale them. I don't want it to come too far out the side, so I scale it and then just push it in. You'll have to go a lot by your own tastes here, a lot by your own sensibility, what you think looks good, what you think is going to be right for your character. Always remember to constantly rotate around different angles, make sure that it looks good from everywhere and not just the front, not just the side. Remember, I'm keeping it really close on the inside of the leg. Just the inside of the leg. The outside of the leg can be whatever you want it to be. But you should keep it pretty close on the inside. And pretty snug around his butt. Again, if you start getting this part gray, part brown, or whatever color pants you're using, we can fix that by simply changing the vertices, or the face color underneath those areas to the same color as the pants. It's a cheap fix, but like I said, I am not the most technical person, so it gets the job done for me. So I'm going to start flaring it a little bit when it starts coming down to the knee here. It might be a little bit too much from this angle, but I do want him to look like he's wearing pants and not leggings. I will keep it a little bit close coming around the knee. I also want to get like the nice line down the thigh. It's important to get this line and then the back of the leg to sort of work together harmoniously. I'm going to scale up the knee sort of as a unit here. But be careful when you're trying to just double click and select those edge loops, because they, especially with Morpheus, they often they'll scale up and they'll select up the line, the loop this way as opposed to the loop around the leg. So you gotta really be careful there. We're also going to be pretty careful with his geometry around the knee, because he's got some beefy calves, and we want to make sure that he can actually have pants that are going to cover him wholly. I accidentally pulled the front of his legs in here. My soft select is too careful. Gonna turn off this visibility here for a sec. Alright, so I'm probably going to try and keep it pretty tight around his calf here, just because they're so bulbous. And then just let the last part of the pants, let that just drape naturally with the size of the calf. And it doesn't need to be perfect right now, because we can use that soft select tool again, and we can relax these, we can make this a lot easier to look at. We just need a general shape going on at first. So his leg starts to taper right here. I'll just go ahead and start getting it out. And actually start bringing it back as well. I'm really happy our reflection's working really well again, because that would be very frustrating to have to deal with both of these legs a couple times. This could be bigger. Oof, what have I done? That's why it's super important to always check it from multiple angles. And when you're using reflection, it's really important to only select the one side. Otherwise, you'll get crazy scaling things like you just saw. I'm going to turn off this visibility. And I'm going to bring these right down around his feet. A bit more. All right. So now there's the beginnings of some pants. You can stop here if you want. This is a completely acceptable pants. I like to refine the bottoms a bit, especially this bottom point here. Is using his leg geometry just to scale around. It'll sort of start creating some of these funny points going on. So it's nice to really sculpt these into like really pleasing pants bottoms. So his pants are pretty wide because his calves are pretty wide. It's definitely not the smoothest thing. You can see I've had some little mistakes in here, and you can still see his calves through the back of his legs. So I'm going to go ahead and use the sculpt geometry tool, and I'm going to smooth it. Go back and forth between smoothing, relaxing, pushing, and pulling again. Oops, let's try this one. This is relax. This is going to start smoothing out some of those sort of bubbly geometry that I had accidentally created, and create a nicer looking pant overall. I'm going to pull out the back of his knee here. I'm going to shrink my brush. And he's got big calves. You can also just shrink his calves. Like once you have his pants the right size, before you wrap him, if it's getting like a little too much to manage, you can go ahead and just shrink his geometry a little bit of his body. Let's smooth up here a little bit too, or relax up here a little bit too. Fantastic. Now we can sort of see his butt again, so I'm going to go here and just pull it out just a little bit. Like I said, it'll start getting kind of messed up kind of fast. Shrink the brush, let's try none. Whoa! Let's go ahead and go back to our vertices. I'll select, get that crotch area back in again. There we go. All right. So there's some pretty basic pants. We'll leave it there for now because it's nice to make the boots before you really start finessing the bottom of the pants. Because the boots are going to intersect with that anyways. Great. So let's save. Before we continue, you should probably be saving every single time you get, like, finish the crotch, save, finish the knees, save, always save, because you never know what's going to happen. My computer sounds like it's about to blow up right now, so I'm particularly wary. All right, so let's turn the visibility off on all these layers again and turn the visibility on the boots layer. And like I was accidentally doing before, let's use the side view to select these faces that we don't want. So right down to the ankle, turn off our soft select. And I'm giving him kind of a loafer looking shoe. You can make actual boots if you so desire. There we go, that's looking pretty good. Delete. Fantastic. All right, so the next step now, we'll turn back on Morpheus, and we will assign his boots a new material. Just a quick Lambert. Boots, color. Let's just make these navy. It's very color coordinated fellow. Fantastic. And then we'll go ahead and scale these up just enough that we can click them outside of his body. We definitely don't want to make the shoes much bigger than the feet. We'll use the Sculpt Geometry tool to pull it out a little bit at the bottom, just above his geometry, because there's a lot of rigging happening in the feet and we don't want to mess that up. So the shoes are pretty close already. You can go through and create nice shaped shoes on top of this. But for my purposes, I'm not doing any animation with extreme amount of feet going on. So I'm just going to jump right into the Sculpt Geometry tool here. We're going to use the pull tool. I have my reflection turned on. I'm just going to gradually pull this out just like we've done on the shirt and the pants. Just don't want to see the gray coming through it. They don't need to be that big. There you go, he's got some little shoesies there. You can definitely fix the tops of the tongue here, or what would be, to be more shoe-like. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, because these shoes look fine, but they do look a little bit funny. Like if you had them in there at all, they're like clearly just one polygon thick. So I like to select the entire shoes and extrude all of it. Everything, I like to move it out along the Z, actually in along the Z, just giving it a little bit of thickness. It's really touching his feet then. There's like a little bit of thickness on the tongues. There's really basic shoesies there. But they fit on his feet so perfectly. It's like little Cinderella shoes for Morpheus. Fantastic. Great. So now you have your clothes, or once your shoes are on, if you do anything fancy with the tongue, you'll mess up the front of your pants. I actually did a pretty good job here. They fit pretty well. But let's go ahead and select these faces around this bottom edge here. Remember, if you're going to extrude, you have to select both rings because the reflection's just like a pretend extrude. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit And, oops, come on. Oops, my rotation's kind of funny. I like to do these one by one. Sorry, I'm going to select these. Great. And pull them up again just a little. You can finesse yours to look perfect. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. I'm going to give him a little bit of a hipster slash, I think it's like a 70s look. And I'm also going to extrude just the bottom cuff of these pants here. And then I will assign a new material to that area. Oops. New material, please. Perfect. There we go. We'll call it cuff. And we will make it like a light brown. Now it just has like a different colored cuff of his pants. You can do the same thing on the shirt or whatever. But there we go. Super, super basic Morpheus outfit, easily sculpted from his original geometry. Pretty cool. But now, obviously, if we just tried to animate, we made a point of making sure that this wasn't in the hierarchy, so nothing's going to happen. But luckily, wrapping the clothing to his body is super easy. So let's keep the nerve curves turned off for now. And wrapping to Morpheus is a simple matter of selecting the object you want, like selecting the clothes, so selecting the shirt, then selecting his body. Under the animation tab, make sure you, up at the upper left there, you want to make sure it's on animation. We go to create deformers and hit wrap. Boom. Then the next piece, take the pants, select the geometry, create deformers, wrap. Notice this is not like the Norman modification where you're adding influence. These are three separate objects all attaching to this one object. So we're just going to do three separate wraps for them. If I show my NURBS curves now, I grab his shoulder control here, he should move perfectly. Woo, awesome, so exciting. If you start moving him around, you see some of his geometry start to come through, like if you had like some kind of crazy pose where you wanted your shoulder all messed up. You can always go back, quickly unwrap the shirt, poof it out a little bit using that sculpt geometry tool, and work it out that way. Always make sure you test your feet, because we had that nice thigh gap in there. It's working perfectly, and we don't have to really fix anything in the crotch. If for some reason you have a really low camera and you start seeing some of his unitard coming through his pants, again, you can unwrap the pants and quickly paint over that, or it's easiest just to change those faces to be the same color as the pants. But that's a really cheap trick, and maybe you shouldn't listen to me on that one. But there we go. It's working pretty well, getting all these crazy poses. His shoes work. It should be great if we go into our channel box here, and I, for some reason, cannot see any of my controls, which is great. There we go. So if we can still do the foot roll, everything is working closely to his body, so that it's going to work fine. The pants get a little bit weird, the way that the cuff's working. You can do some corrective blend shapes to fix some of those poses. But overall, you've got a functioning Morpheus outfit. Fantastic. So that's the tutorial. It's super easy, super fast. I clothed Morpheus in a really basic outfit in under an hour, ready to animate, good to go. Like I said, there are a few bugs if you come across them, like scaling Morpheus, like really, really small or really, really big. You'll notice some strange deformations in the clothes, or some people have noticed that. If you come across that, or if you know how to fix it, give us a shout. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you're excited and you want to join Tea Time, it's totally free. We're just a cool community of people who like sharing knowledge. You can join us on our website, www.teatimeanimation.com. We have community forums there for you to join the conversation. We have a blog. We have an email, Twitter @TeaTimeAnimates. We have an Instagram, a Facebook group. We have pretty much any way you'd like to contact us online, you can come find us. Once again, my name is Lana Bashinsky. Good luck and happy animating.